Well, hello. Um, I've actually decided that from the encouragement of a lot of my friends and a lot of people that I've met over the last 6 months that I was going to start vlogging and blogging a bit and kind of just like opening up to what's going on and the process of, you know, building You Are Loved and all that kind of stuff. I kind of wanted to take a huge step back and kind of start from the beginning and tell people kind of a story. When it first happened, I didn't really open up that much. To be honest, I was pretty traumatized from everything that happened, and I didn't know how to talk about it. I felt like from the friends I had made in the past couple years, I didn't know how to relate to anybody. I didn't know how to open up. I didn't know, who to talk to, and I found a lot of companionship and a lot of help and support through forums online and talking to complete strangers, actually, which was ironic enough. But sometimes that just helps when it's just, a safe zone for you to open up and not feel like you're exposing yourself. Sometimes when there's a lot of eyes on you, it's hard to be raw and it's hard to open up emotionally and, really be honest with yourself and everybody that you're not okay. It's really hard to be vulnerable. So I just wanted to kind of share the story behind, what's been going on in the last 6 months. Maybe it will help people understand where I'm coming from a bit more. Maybe why I'm so unapologetic in my opinions and why I feel the need to be so vocal about them. So as some of you know, a lot of you, I guess, know, about 6 months ago in March 15th, my dad died. It's a 6 month today, and I really felt like this was an important date to share the story. So 6 months ago, I'm sitting in my apartment with my roommate, and we're having a Burger King eating pretty much contest because we had missed a movie, and we came home and we were decided to be little fatties. So we're sitting on the couch, we're eating Burger King, and I get a knock at the door, and it's a police officer, and he asks me if I know who Douglas is. And my heart completely dropped, and I felt sick to my stomach. I just collapsed, basically, and I lost it. And he told me, your dad was found dead, and we need you to basically come collect his possessions and, figure out the police report and all that kind of stuff, and basically, come and figure it out. And it completely caught me off guard, but at the same time, like, this was something that I had been kind of expecting for a while. I knew my dad was homeless. I knew that he, struggled with alcoholism pretty much my whole life. He was my dad growing up, and it was only the last few years of his life that really had taken a huge downward spiral. So, it was pretty devastating. So it's about, midnight, and I'm freaking out. I'm calling everybody. My family's sleeping, so I can't really get a hold of them. I'm freaking out. Thank God my roommate is so awesome and was really there for me. So finally, I get to the police station, and I pick up his wallet. And that in itself was something that disturbed me. Like, I don't know, like, you'll never be able to describe that feeling unless you've been through it yourself. The police officer, I'm standing there, and they say, your dad died of natural causes, and, here's a box of latex gloves. We're going to need you to go to where he was found, which was a motel room in Bolton. And that struck me as pretty weird in itself, because the last thing I had heard is he was living in a shelter, living, I guess, in and out of a shelter. So I'm on my way to this motel room, and I'm thinking, like, I'm just gonna go grab, like, whatever possessions that I guess he had, and I'm gonna be on my way, and then I gotta figure out, I guess I'm gonna attend the funeral or whatever. I didn't really expect what I saw. So, this is something that I have had such a hard time sharing, but I know that I need to share it because I need people to understand where I'm coming from and why I'm so passionate. I showed up to this motel room, and there was blood everywhere. and it's not something I expected. There was blood all over the bed and all over the mattress, and I walked into the bathroom, and there was just a pool of blood in the tub. And I was told by the coroner that he had pretty much died about a week before. So it was a pretty gruesome sight. It was pretty bad. It's something that will probably haunt me for the rest of my life. It's something that I haven't shared with anybody because it was so traumatizing. And I still to this day, I'm obviously not over it. And I think it's going to take me a while. Immediately after that, I was pretty much numb. I didn't feel anything. I didn't even cry. I just was so in shock and couldn't believe it because I had gone in there expecting one thing and completely seen a different crime scene. Well, I don't even know what happened to this day because I'm still not getting any straight answers from anybody. So it's been pretty much a nightmare for the past 6 months. Right away, I decided that I wasn't going to let that, out of everything that I've been through, I wasn't going to let that take me down. And I decided right away that I was going to start You Are Loved. And that's because basically the response from the police officers, the coroners, like everybody was just so dismissive. It was like he was just some bum that, like, who cares, like, dismissed, like, okay, here's some gloves, go clean it up, and like we'll move on with our day. And it wasn't like that for me. That was my father, that I had to see his blood everywhere, and I had to, live with that, and I had to have those nightmares, and I have to live with the smell of that motel room for the rest of my life. And, I just didn't want to become a victim of my own, like, depression and my own stuff, so I immediately started projecting onto other people. And, the way I felt inside was really lonely and really disturbed, and I didn't know who to talk to, and I didn't know how to deal with it. Almost immediately after my father's death, I lost contact with my whole family, basically, and it was pretty devastating. We had some disagreements, and that's also not something that I want to share, but it's real, and it's real life, and it happens, and, we're so quick to hide things about ourselves and to pretend like everything's okay and to be all happy and loving on social media. And I did that for so long. All I would do is post inspirational stuff and like try and use my story for better. And I wasn't looking inside and I wasn't dealing with it. And that really, really affected me deeply. It took me about 4 months of serious work in the community and working with homeless people of low income, people that are just on the street, people who are addicted to drugs or alcohol, people who are completely sane and are sober and are just completely devastated by circumstances. It took me about 4 months of immersing myself in that kind of culture to get, to really feel it. It came crashing down on me, and I was being triggered a lot. Every, person I saw that was homeless, I saw my father in that person, and it was devastating to me. I worked myself to the bone because I was pretty much riddled with guilt. I felt like I had taken the whole thing on, and I felt like it was my fault that my dad had died that way, and I couldn't believe that my own father had died in such a disturbing and lonely way, and I couldn't believe that the things that I saw, to be honest. I just couldn't believe it. And that's why it's so important to me to talk about issues, because I don't feel like anybody should have to hide anymore. I don't feel like we should have to skirt around issues in society anymore. I feel like I'm going to throw it right out there and I'm going to talk about it. And if you don't like it, and if it makes you uncomfortable, that's probably a good thing, because that's something that we need to address. The stigma around homelessness and the way that it was dealt with, and the dehumanizing nature of, authorities around that kind of stuff was just devastating. I spent the last 6 months going to rallies, going to protests, getting myself involved in different community centers, different charity organizations, finding ways in which I could repurpose old food in the city, not old food, but like excess fresh food, sorry, in the city from restaurants and from studios. I was going around collecting donations all around the city. I was driving myself mad and exhausted, and I crashed. And it was probably the best thing ever to have that crash where I basically hit rock bottom and everything came to life. I realized that I didn't give myself time to heal. I realized that I fully dove in without giving myself enough time to love myself, to get help, to talk about it, to talk about the things that I've seen. I thought that I could just, I'm strong, I can deal with it. Like whatever, I can get through this and it'll be fine. It wasn't fine. And, the reason why I'm starting this vlog and the reason why I'm going to start writing more is because I want to open up discussions about this kind of stuff. Not just about homelessness. It's not just about that. It's about, as human beings, allowing ourselves the platforms and the reasons and the ways in which we can talk about real emotions, talk about not being okay, stop stigmatizing mental illness. It took me 5 months, but I finally saw a doctor and I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety, which is not shocking by any means, but it was something that's real and it's something that I was avoiding. And I thought, memes on Instagram and great little quotes could get me through the day, but that's not enough. It's inspiring for a second, but like, what does that really do? And I want to advocate more for people to go and get help and stop stigmatizing it and stop feeling like you should be ashamed of yourself, because the best thing I ever did was to go get help. I've never been so clear-headed and I've never been so focused. I know this kind of video is kind of all over the place, but the point is that I really wanted to share a little bit of the story and say that it's a real issue. If you've ever lost a parent, if you've ever dealt with a parent with alcoholism, if you've ever dealt with losing touch with your family, if you've ever felt like being alone, if you've ever struggled with depression or anxiety, or you've ever felt that you've had extreme social anxiety where you cannot even function in public or talk to strangers or anything like that, I can relate 100%. And it's okay. It's okay to not be okay. And that's like the cheesiest thing ever, but it is real. And I just want to use my platform continuously to talk about issues, to talk about racism and sexism, to talk about stigmas around mental health, to talk about politics, all of that kind of stuff. I feel like it's really important. And so, yeah, long story short, I'll be opening up about stuff a little bit more, but this was kind of just to explain, where I'm about to go with it. So if you've watched this whole video, well, thank you very much. It's really important to me to have the support from people around me. It's really, really, really scary to put yourself out there and be vulnerable and to share this. And that goes for me and for so many people out there. So just be easy on yourself and be easy on others when they come out with things or when they're vulnerable and sharing their stories. It takes a lot of guts in this world when it's really cool to be cool, and it's really cool to be emotionless, and it's really cool to be detached, and we can get into all that later, but yeah, thanks for watching.